So this is my Petcha Kucha for the Edge project. These are my two outcomes for brief 1 and brief 2. Both I was really looking at our relationship with nature, more specifically within the identity one, which is really focused on nature. I have decided to take forward persuasion as an idea for the Edge project. These are some quick sketches for my intended outcomes. I'm going to be focusing on nature protests, so banners, placards, just raising awareness about nature, climate change, and looking at creating something that will capture attention. Here are some more images. On the left is one that I've mocked up of something that I might create on the Edge project. On the right is an image I took from a temporary exhibition in the Forest of Dean, where they had these amazing banners up in the trees. That's something that I'm really looking to kind of replicate within my own work. This is an artist I originally looked at for brief 1. Rosanna Morris. She's a Bristol-based printmaker, and a lot of her work is about resistance, bringing nature back into community. She's someone that's really inspirational, and I like her simple imagery. This is another artist that I found when doing some research for the Edge, Shelby Rodefa. She's an American painter. She was commissioned to do these banners, and I really love that they're inspired by trade union banners, which is something that I'm going to research later on. Her work is really bold. Another artist I'm looking at is Kate McNeff. So she is really focused on folk art within textiles. She's got these really bold graphic images. I really like the way that she displays her work, and that's given me a lot of ideas for potential future displays. So with the research, I'm going to originally be looking at historical context, so women's suffrage banners, which were really beautifully hand-sewn, handmade, but also trade union banners. They had a lot of symbolism in there, and they were beautifully painted. So I'm going to look into both of those and hope to carry some of that forward. I will also be looking at more modern examples, particularly within climate activism and Extinction Rebellion, who have some really iconic colours, imagery, and these bold images that they use in most of their work. Here's some further ideas. So on the left are some pictures from my previous work, which is all about bold graphic imagery, but also lettering. So that's something that I want to be able to develop further with this project. And here are just some really quick sketches on things that I might use within the project. So working within the Edge, my idea generation will probably be centered around thumbnails, doing some quick sketches. So here are some examples from brief 1, and also mind maps I find really useful to get into ideas, but also ideas coming off of those. During the experimentation phase, I'll be looking mainly at printmaking, but also textiles, and a way to bring those both together in some larger banners or larger paintings. I will be trying out different printmaking techniques and also bringing in textiles, which is fairly new for my work. I'll be documenting my process through photography, sketchbooking, taking images of the work as it progresses and the steps that I'm taking to produce it. In order to get my work out to an audience, I will be looking at social media presence. So on the left is my current art account, which I will be using to promote my work. And on the right is an example from Rebecca Strickson, who does a lot of protest art in big, colourful works that she mainly posts on social media. The final context for my piece, I would like to be able to photograph it outside, as I have done with this previous piece of work of mine on the right. I'm also inspired by this picture on the left, which was an exhibition I saw in Copenhagen, where they made these beautiful banners and hung them so that you could walk around them. My aims for week 7 were to create some mind maps of my first thoughts, research context and history, collect some images for reference and inspiration, and create a rough outline of what I want to achieve. In week 8, I'm going to be doing some deeper research into the historical and artistic references, using these references to generate some ideas, some imagery, but also thinking about the ethics of what I'm doing and what I want to be saying, and creating some rough thumbnails. On week 9 is going to be all about experimentation, so starting to work some of those ideas into larger pieces and focusing on experimenting with print and textiles. I'm going to be looking at how to source my materials from more ethical and sustainable sources. So that's going to be really key for the project as a whole. By week 10, I want to be continuing with the experimentation, but also beginning to refine my ideas and take those ideas to plan a final outcome, what I want to achieve by the end of this project. I will also be looking at some of the materials that I've gathered and things that I want to use in the final piece, and creating a first draft of the reflective essay. By week 11, I want to have finished or nearly finished the final outcome, and I also want to spend some time researching places where I can display the artwork either temporarily or just for a photograph. So I'm thinking places within the forest so that people who are already connected with nature can see them, but also places which aren't nature focused to bring people to the idea of protecting nature in a creative way. I will also look at creating a final draft for the reflective essay. And in week 12, I will be making any final touches to the outcome, putting the PowerPoint together and finalising the reflective essay.